Hi, my name is Jonas Auder from the University of Duisburg-Essen, and on behalf of my colleagues Uwe Grünefeld and Sven Meyer, I'm going to present our work, which is titled It Takes Two to Tango: Conflicts Between Users on the Reality-Virtuality Continuum and Their Bystanders. The core idea of our work can be illustrated with a simple example. In this picture, we can see a user who is immersed in a VR application. Somehow, the user is challenged by a specific task and states that help is needed. The bystander offers help to the VR user but does not see what is the issue. Because both persons do not share the same reality, we see several issues arising due to perception differences. To better understand these conflicts, we can look at the Reality-Virtuality Continuum, which was introduced by Milgram and Kishino in 1994. To recap, the continuum is spanning from the real environment, here on the left-hand side, to the purely virtual environment on the right-hand side. In between, we see every mix of the two extremes, which we call mixed reality. When we go back to the previously introduced example, we can classify the position of the bystander on the continuum to be in the real world, here the yellow dot, and the position of the VR user in some form of immersive VR, here the purple dot. When the bystander starts to engage with the VR user, we can talk about cross-reality interaction. To better understand this interaction and problems that arise from it, we conducted a literature review. We started our systematic review by looking at relevant papers from the last 5 years and considered 5 relevant conferences and the keywords listed here. From the literature, we derived social settings that are mainly in focus of the conducted research. These are private settings, semi-private settings, like work and school, and public settings, for example, plane flights and public transportation. In private settings, the VR user and bystanders know each other, for example, when a group of friends plays a VR game. The fact that all persons know each other has an influence on their interaction while being immersed in such games. In semi-private settings, for example at work, the likelihood that people know each other is very high. Users that are immersed in a virtual environment do not have to expect negative influences from the real world. When collaboration is needed, cross-reality interaction is even desired. Public settings became more relevant as settings in which people experience digital realities. Here, users and bystanders likely do not know each other. If one uses virtual reality in public settings, it is difficult to judge who is around the user, and also immersion could be lessened due to external interruptions. Still, here there are various use cases like improving travel experience on long distant flights. While we are studying scenarios from related work, we derived 3 different research scenarios in which the relationship between users and bystanders differ. Through isolated experience, users can detach from the real world. For example, in a noisy office environment, with a lot of visual elements causing distractions, a virtual environment may be a good idea to isolate from these negative influences. Still, bystanders might cross the area of the VR user. Sometimes it is desired that the bystanders are included. That, for example, can be accomplished using a cave environment, attaching displays to the HMD, or using bystanders to provide haptic feedback, which enriches the virtual application experience. Bystanders could also be included to foster collaboration. For example, if a user is solving a task in virtual reality, a bystander could be included to the experience to help the user. A more playful scenario would be a virtual reality game in which a VR user and a bystander are involved in the same activity. To more formally classify the previously introduced scenarios, we can use the Reality-Virtuality Continuum. The distance between a user and a bystander on the continuum can be used to illustrate the relationship in different scenarios. For example, during an isolated experience, the virtual reality user is far away from the bystander and no transition on the continuum from either the user or the bystander is happening. When we include the bystander into the virtual experience, there is a unidirectional transition which brings the bystander closer to the user on the continuum, while during collaboration both the user and the bystander are transitioning towards each other. We now want to suggest research opportunities referring to the previously introduced settings and scenarios. First-generation VR and AR devices are designed for single-user experiences, but designing devices that foster the interaction between user and bystanders can be of interest. New technologies might allow transitioning along the continuum smoothly. That would allow a user and a bystander to interact by gradually transitioning into the reality of each other. Finally, researchers might face challenges while investigating mixed reality scenarios. Tools and frameworks might help us to describe and analyze these scenarios to understand the interplay of involved users, objects, and environments. We're looking forward to discuss these research opportunities with you during the workshop, and thank you for the attention.